with Tracy in LA. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Dance Journey. Today we have Christina Wampler.
Hello.
Say hi.
You're so cute doing this. I just got excited.
I'm so excited to have Christina because I actually wanted Christina, I think the very first day I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, you should be on my podcast. And she was probably like, whoa, I just met this girl. I don't know what's going on. But do you remember me saying that?
I do remember that. So it's kind of like, I was like, oh, maybe she'll ask me, maybe she won't. But then I was like, I'll just wait until she does. So when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing that might happen. I'm so happy.
I know. It was like, I was getting kind of busy and I wasn't asking people as frequently because I was shooting so many, but then I felt like I was supposed to follow up with everybody that was kind of in my heart to ask. And I was like, oh, I need to follow up with Christina again. And so then all of a sudden I had like 5 podcast shoots in a row because I was following up with everybody. But yeah, so Christina, we'll talk about how we met. So, because I think, was it in January or December? I don't remember actually. Maybe you don't remember either.
Well, do you know what the song was?
Oh gosh, you know what? I should have looked it up.
Did you do Gently with the Christmas lights?
I think I started in January. I think it might have been
Daily
after
Bread
Christmas.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So January?
Yeah, it must have been.
I feel like, no, you have been here longer
No, I
than
think
that.
I have.
I keep track of how many people have been to,
Maybe
and you're the top runner with like 8.
For some reason, I don't remember like a Christmas.
Maybe, you know what? I think
Did
you
I
might have
miss
missed
that
that
one?
one.
I feel like I've never missed since I started coming, but maybe there was one
I think
time.
there was literally once.
Yeah, probably once. Interesting. Okay, so you're like, what are you guys even talking about? So Christina teaches, she teaches a lot of dance. We'll hear about it, but she teaches a once-a-month dance class company thing. It's called the Whaaaaat Dance Company, and it is, what's cool is, so I've always had this vision to like choreograph to Christian music because I just love that kind of music. And one of my friends who knows that that's kind of a dream of mine, she goes to Vintage Church in Santa Monica, and that's where I used to go when I lived on the West Side. And that's also where Christina used to go. And so this friend of mine, I don't even think you know her, but somehow she overheard you talking about this class you were starting, how God like called you to Pasadena or something, and you were starting a class near there that was going to be like a Christian contemporary class or something. So my friend overheard this. She gave me like maybe your Instagram or something like that. And so then I think I reached out or looked it up or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like my dream. That's so cool that she's doing it. I have to go to that, obviously. And so, yeah, that's why I was so excited to meet you the first day, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool that you're doing this. That's like the thing that's in my heart. You should be on my podcast. That's why I was like so excited. But yeah, maybe that's how we met. And I've been coming to that class for Sunday of the month almost every month since, maybe it was November or something like that. October, November. When did you start it? September?
The first one was September. Yeah.
Okay.
But you've been to like the most out of anyone almost.
Oh.
So, because I keep track and she's always there.
Yeah,
so
it's like graded on a curve, so I'm at the top, A+.
Yes.
But like I know, I think I missed the first couple months, but I was excited that like, oh, she just started this and I'm gonna be able to come like right away. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So maybe you can. It doesn't have to be the long version, or it can be, but because you used to live on the West Side in Santa Monica, and you were doing an internship at Vintage Church, actually.
Yes.
What was that internship? Was it a specific thing, or was it just...
Oh, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I feel like I already have things to say.
No, perfect.
First off, you are so cute and enthusiastic, and I remember the first day you came in, you're just completely right. You were like, oh my gosh, like, I know you this way. This is a dream that was on my heart. Do you want to be on my podcast? And I was like, she already, like, has the Holy Spirit and is so sweet. I was just, like, so excited. I was like, she's just so sweet and, like, so inquisitive, which, like, we already talk about a lot about you. But that's super fun. And then, I think you maybe gave me the name of the person through Vintage, but I was like, I don't know if I for sure know exactly who you're talking about, but I think it's been cool to see how people have found out about it, and I feel like yours is one of the more kind of random stories of like through a person. And I think that's been super cool to see who God has brought into this space for however long of a time. But yes, the internship at Vintage was super sweet, and there were 10 interns, and I was just the intern over kind of the prayer and care department.
Oh, cool.
So I just helped run the courses we did and the prayer team we had, and I was just kind of in that space, and I'd already been going to Vintage for a few years. It's weird.
Okay.
I really met the Lord. And so I grew up Presbyterian, but then really met Jesus a handful of years ago there, and I just was like, I can never miss a Sunday. And I have, spoiler alert, missed the Sunday, but I just really love it there, and had just then felt called to try to do the internship, and it was definitely a lot of sweet hard work, but it was really fun.
Oh, so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I also... Yeah, I used to live on the west side. I went to Vintage for maybe about 4 years.
Dang,
but it
wow.
was probably... I've been living in Pasadena for like 8 years or so. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was before your time there.
Oh,
but
wow.
also loved Vintage. Fell in love with that church like the first time I went. It was
Yeah.
like, this is where I'm supposed to go. So, yeah, love that church. And now, since I live out this way in Pasadena, I go to a different church. But I watch a cat that's really close to Santa Monica in Mar Vista.
So when you're there.
Yeah, so it's like 8 minutes from Vintage. So,
Wow.
and especially in the summer, I'm there a lot. So I do go to Vintage. So I was just at Vintage last week because I was like house sitting.
We
Yeah.
need to worship together.
I know. But you don't still go?
No, I do actually.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
this is the plot twist. I know. I was like, I don't know when to tell her this. So once I finished the internship, I feel like going off of staff at a church, you just need a second to like, so even at like Christmas Eve service, I was there, and it'd been like 8 months since I'd worked there, and someone like brought me a wallet and was like, you work here, right? You look so familiar. Like, here, can you get this wallet back to its owner?
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, I don't work here anymore. So I think just that curve of like not working somewhere and just taking a beat. But then I've kind of, reintegrated probably since like January. I started going back again because I did get plugged into another little church that was so sweet for a season. But my sister and brother-in-law go to Vintage. It's still just home.
I see.
And my boyfriend and I go there now. So just love it.
Do you wish you were still living over there?
No.
Okay. That's so interesting, though. So you just drive over there?
So, yes. I drove over there originally from the Valley when I first went there. And then the only year I ever lived close was when I lived there for the internship.
Okay.
So,
you're always used to driving
I was
there.
just used to the drive. And to be honest, when my boyfriend and I did it this morning, we were like, this is so sweet. We get to catch up for 25 minutes on the way. I think when I because the intern housing was literally next door. And I was like, just walking there every Sunday, I was like, I need a second on a Sunday morning to reset.
I get that.
Which wasn't anyone's fault, but it was just like so nice to get the drive back.
Yeah.
Plus Sunday mornings there's just no traffic in LA, so that's nice.
I really get that. I do like to have a little drive time before I get to like a job. Yeah. It's nice to be close to a job, but it's also nice the wind down time afterwards and the time there to just... I'm more excited for work if I know I have time to like listen to some of a podcast or like some music or something.
I completely agree. Or like if I have to catch up with people's voice memos or calls, like I just think a commute is honestly the perfect thing to do. Not that Sunday morning going to church is a commute, but you know what I mean. You just get to like
Sunday morning
reset.
Isn't bad, but exactly. My long distance friendships weren't as strong when I lost my commute because I always call them on the phone on my drives because I used to commute for my job from Pasadena to Culver City almost every day.
Ooh.
And I actually never minded the drive. It's just that I ended up not sleeping much because of how much I was in the car and how much other stuff I had to do outside of work. Yeah. So that was the problem, is I would get really tired in the car and feel like I was going to fall asleep, and that was a little dangerous.
Yes.
But the actual act of driving, I have so many things I like to do in the car that I never like minded it. It was just that I felt like it wasn't safe anymore. Like I'm getting too tired.
Wow.
So but I did that for a while.
I'm giving you credit because I also feel like some people, like myself, I'm like, oh, I don't mind driving if there's no traffic. But you would have been like in traffic. The traffic.
So what I would do is I would take in the morning was hard, but then after work I would stay late. I would usually eat dinner there, take dance classes in like Culver City or Santa Monica.
Wow.
And then I would have a really fast drive home. But I'd be getting home so late and still kind of have to eat like more real food and take a shower. And so I'd go to bed late, and then I'd have to wake up at like 4 or 5 to like get to work on time. Also because I was a manager, so I had to be there like a little earlier.
Wow.
So the pandemic was amazing because we worked from home for a while.
That's really clutch for you.
That worked out. That worked out great. And when I first moved, I used to live 5 minutes from work. So I will tell you, I was late to work way more often when I lived 5 minutes away than I was.
That's really funny.
Because
there is a false sense of like, I'm right here.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden there's like one fire truck or ambulance and you're late.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't plan for that. But when I'm far away, I leave so much earlier because anything could happen. So anyways, that was a big tangent. But so she was doing the internship there. Then what happened? What brought you? What's your story of how you ended up? teaching a dance class. We're actually in Sierra Madre. We're actually at the dance studio right now.
Yeah.
So what ended up bringing you out here? I just heard this story for the first. This is like, sorry, I'm like all over the place.
I love it.
Christina. So in the beginning of this dance class, we usually do like a little. Christina will maybe share because it's kind of like a Christian dance class / little miniature Bible study type of thing. So she will sometimes read like a verse or something, and we'll kind of talk about it. But today was the first time she sort of like decided to share her story of like how she ended up coming out here. Of all these months, today was the day she decided to share that. And I was like, girl, I was going to ask you on the podcast. Now you have to tell it twice.
I will tell it twice, gladly. I will always talk about it.
But yeah, tell us how you ended up out here.
Yeah, so...
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to tell you about my new book, The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010. This is my very first memoir. There will be more. It's not like a normal memoir where you're looking back on your life and reflecting on it and writing a book about it. It's more like a memoir in real time. So basically, when I very first moved to LA to pursue acting, which was in 2009, I decided I was going to write these like monthly newsletters where I sent out actual letters in the actual mail to a bunch of my friends every month to give them updates on what I was doing with acting and jobs and friendships and all kinds of things that I was going through my very first time ever living in LA. It ended up being pretty humorous, and so I've basically gone back and edited them so that I could publish them as a book. So that's what this is, and yeah, if you want to be entertained and have a good laugh, buy my book, or if you just want to help me pay my rent next month. Oh, and you can get it on Amazon. The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010 by Tracy Nicole. Nicole is my middle name. Also, there's a link in my Instagram bio. You can get it paperback or on Kindle.
I was doing that internship in Santa Monica, and I didn't really know what was next. There was an opportunity to stay a second year at the internship, but I just didn't have a lot of peace about that when I was like praying about it. I was like, that just doesn't, I just knew very specifically the first year if someone said like, were you called to be at this internship? Like, were you supposed to be here? I'd have been like, oh my gosh, yes. But that second year, I was like, if someone asked me into the second year, like, was I called to be here? I can't say confidently that this is where God wanted me. I don't really know. And Pasadena for me had become the place where on my Sabbath, like my day off, I would come here because I like had roommates that I like loved, adored my roommates there. But I'm just introverted. So like I shared a room. I had an apartment building with all the other interns. And then I worked with all of them. And we just worked a lot of night events too. So it just felt like a lot of work. And so then when I would have my day off, I was like, I just need to go be on a mountaintop alone. And so that's what I would do in the Pasadena mountains. And it really just kind of became that like escape. I was like, I just need to like go reset, pray, be in tune with like whatever the heck is going on, because I'm just like so all over the place and in a very extroverted job. So I was like, I'm speaking to too many people.
Oh man, that's a lot. That'd be hard for me too.
Ministry is definitely difficult for introverted people, but a lot of people feel called to it and like really make it work. And I did my best. But then I just felt, I was like, okay, moving like back to like where my family is didn't really feel right. Staying in Santa Monica didn't feel right. And I just felt peace about moving to Pasadena, but I did not have a job or a church or a house or literally anything, a place to live, like none of it. So I was like, that's kind of a wild thing to do, but like I'll just pray about it and keep seeing. And then work was especially, I was like, I don't even know. I did start feeling like going back to dancing and teaching dance was what I was kind of being called to do. And that like excited me. It was just, it's always been something that's like brought me, I feel like life. Like I thought it was super sweet. So that was really fun to like be able to be like kind of decipher that. But I was like, what does that look like? And so one day I was actually working a worship night and I left my Bible for a minute open. And I just like went to do an intern task and like fill a water jug or something. And I came back and in it was a note card. And someone had just left it there. And it literally just said Sierra Madre with some mountains drawn. And then it said the word faithful. And I was like, I've never heard of Sierra Madre. So I was like, weird, Lord. Like, I guess we're going there my next Sabbath. Like, I really don't know where this is. And then I looked at a map and since it was like next to Pasadena. And so I was like, wait, this is like really weird because this is like right where I'm about to live. Like, what's there? Like, I do remember when I drove here, I was like, Lord, please don't call me to live here. I don't know anyone here. Like, I hope it's not for living, like maybe for job or something, like something other than living, because I was just really nervous. And so anyway, I drove through the little town, and I was, I'll just tell a longer story, but I was
do it.
kind of being tailgated, and like Sabbath, most people don't practice the Sabbath. It's just like, I think it's maybe more like a Jewish tradition to practice still, but I'm a part of the hilarious Christians who do tend to try to practice the Sabbath.
It's amazing to do that, yeah.
And just like have a day of like slowing and resting, and just worshiping and dwelling. But I try not to like speed, like actually pay very close attention to like how fast I drive. And so anyway, I was kind of being tailgated. And like, if you've ever been to Sierra Madre, California, super random, it's a very small town. So, and it's like no stoplights, like it's literally that small. And so I was driving and I was like, I'm kind of being tailgated. I'm not down for this. Like, it's my Sabbath. I'm going to pull over and let this person pass me. So I just pulled over and I looked down and did a devotional for a second. And then when I looked up is when I just looked up and saw the dance studio right in front of me that I just had happened to pull over in front of. And I got out and I looked in, and creepily, I was like, I'm really glad I'm like a young, normal looking girl right now. And like, this isn't creepy. But I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute in there. Like, this is the cutest studio I've ever seen. And so I was like, I would love to work here. But I really didn't know at that point what that would look like.
And what's crazy is the studio like logo or whatever on the window, it has like little mountains, and just a quick, the reason I'm not acting like astonished at everything is because she just told the story like a little while ago. But did you think that somebody, was it a pre-made card that had that stuff, or someone literally like wrote something and drew mountains on something and put it in your Bible?
Yeah, it was like a note card, like someone wrote a blank note card. Yes.
And so you think someone maybe heard from God that they were supposed to like put that on your Bible or something like that?
I really do.
Okay.
I have like a hunch of who it might be now, but I've genuinely never spoken to that person about it.
So crazy. Okay, so then cut back to the story. So then you're literally just like parked over, you just happened to park kind of right in front of the studio, and it had the same like mountains and said Sierra Madre.
Yeah. So I never would have come to this town or looked for a job in this place had that person not been faithful in writing that down and putting it in my Bible. So that was pretty wild. And so then I was like, okay. And so ended up applying to work here and got to work here. Did not know that it was owned by a beautiful Christian woman, which
that's
it's not
also
like
crazy.
Yeah, it's so sweet because it's not like an outwardly facing Christian studio, which is is fine. So I just didn't know. And then when I spoke to her and then had this idea for the way, I was like, I just was going to rent a studio and do it elsewhere when the timing was right. But I think just knowing her heart, and like I was like, I think she'd maybe understand or maybe want to be fine with me doing this. And so just getting to start the way on, a Sunday evening a month here has been so sweet.
But when did God was kind of leading you to possibly move out here, and that was the same time God put in your head the idea to start the Way Dance Company class and everything? Or
I had someone, the Way has been on my heart for longer.
Okay.
So even like probably at the beginning of the internship, I was in a car with my boss at the time, and she's like my mentor now. She's amazing. But I was with her, and she was like, if you could just do anything, because I was still acting at this time. I hadn't stopped acting. So she was just like, so I'm doing this church internship. I'm kind of an actor. She knew I danced a little bit, but not like I didn't really talk about it. Most people are very shocked to find out I dance.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
Yeah, I post about it more now, but people are just like, you're a dancer? I was like, yeah, it's like literally where my 10,000 hours have gone. Like, it is 100% my thing, but like, I understand. But she was like, if you could do anything, like money didn't matter, like nothing mattered. You just got to do what you loved. And I was like, choreographed to worship music. Like, that'd be so cool. And I have like had different visions for what that would look like, but she was like, well, why don't you do that? Like, you could just do that and like post it. And I was like, I was too nervous. I was like, I can't do that. Like, I just don't really know. And I think it took, again, like we were kind of talking about, like the birthing of an idea. Like, it just took time to like cook on that idea and like let the Lord kind of expand it. And I think by the time I was pitching it, for lack of a better word, to the studio owner, I was just kind of like, this is kind of really more of a specific vision of what I'd want it to look like, but I still don't know. And even today, like, I was like, you know what, it's going to look more like this instead of that, and it's going to whatever. And I think that's kind of the cool thing about partnering with God, is it's like any given day, any given class, like, what does it need to look like? So, yeah.
That's amazing. When my friend told me that you were doing this, it was the way she told the story was just so cool because it was like, oh, this girl, she feels called to move to Pasadena and she feels called to start this like Christian dance class and with contemporary dance. And I was like, I just was like, that has to be God because what are the odds? That's like my dream and I live in Pasadena and what are the odds that God would send someone from like Santa Monica to Pasadena to do that? They could do that anywhere, you know?
I love it.
So that's what I was just like, I'm obviously supposed to go to this. And that's why my friend told me because she was like, obviously you're supposed to go to this.
I love
she
it
knew
so
that
much.
that was like my dream, you know? So, and my dream has morphed since in the beginning that was kind of pursuing dance. That was kind of my dream. Now, like that's still part of it, but there's a lot more to it now that God's expanded and shown me different kind of like how he's done that in your life too, just kind of like shown you different things from what you first thought or whatever. So you're teaching preschool students here.
Yes, I teach preschool and kindergarten age.
Okay,
So little.
very cute.
Yes.
And then what do you do with dance? Do you do anything else with dance right now besides teaching the preschool and kindergarten and doing this class?
Yes, I do. I would say it's like very puzzle piecey, but for the most part, teaching my littles here, and then through this, I ended up getting a job at a Christian high school.
Oh, right. Okay.
Teaching dance, and that has been so sweet. I will keep that name anonymous, but it's been so sweet to just get to love and pour into high schoolers. I think God was really kind because just doing the littles, I was like, oh gosh, this is a lot of energy. And so I was like, it would be nice to balance it out with some older students, which obviously for the way I have adults. But then getting high schoolers, I was like, this is so much fun. I love them and like I love relating to them and just trying to, you know, I just love it. But then I'm like, this is a little complex sometimes. Let me go back to my kindergarten like age. I would love to go back to that. So I think God's been really kind in the balance of like that. It balances itself out nicely. Yes.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm glad you're liking it with the little ones though, because you said at first when that was the need at this place, you were like, oh, okay.
I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure. And I've taught a lot of that age. And it also can just lean very, very, they're 3, like recreational. And so I was like, sometimes it's harder for me to get behind that depending on what how the studio runs it kind of. Just at this point in like my dance career, I love it so much that to teach kids that don't want to be there just takes a different type of thing. And there's still totally sometimes kids that don't want to be there, you know, any place, anytime. But I think the structure and curriculum here, I'm like, oh, there's curriculum expected for these 3-year-olds. Like I can get behind this. Okay. This is just how I'm more wired. Well, also it's very fun and playful and like we just giggle all the time. It's very imaginative. But I think I just learned a lot about my capacity, and I'm like, this is very tiring to be this on, especially if I like worked at the high school in the day and then I'd come do like 5 little kid classes. I was like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But learning that balance and capacity, and it's been so sweet. They teach me so much about simplicity too. Like anything with kids, I also nanny. Like I love kids, and just you learn to just appreciate the simplicity, and like, I don't know, I feel like I kind of get lost in the moments more with them because it's so precious.
Yeah. Wow, you nanny too. Yeah. You do a lot.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You're like, well, you must have learned you have a lot of capacity. Sort of. But then you need your Sabbath.
Yes.
So.
The Sabbath is crucial.
I was going to talk about how you got started in dance, but we didn't really talk about your class. We kind of did, as far as the class that I take with you. Yeah. But I want to talk about that just a little bit. I always love the songs you choose, and I always love your choreography. It's such a mix of like, okay, it's simple. It's a walk here. It's an arm here. And then all of a sudden there's like this crazy floor move.
I actually did pretty well with floor moves today.
Yeah, today didn't have any crazy floor moves. It was more like all of a sudden, you were like, I guess we're doing ballet tonight, guys. Because it was a lot more like ballet. But I appreciate that, especially since I haven't been able to make it to ballet in a bit. But I actually really like ballet. And I love my growing experience in ballet. So love that in your class when you add that kind of stuff. But I always feel challenged. It's always like a chill environment where Christina likes to remind us we're just dancing for Jesus. We're like trying to remember the choreography, and she's like, but don't forget, we're dancing for Jesus. I'm like, I don't have time to think about that, Christina. And I'm just kidding.
so guilty of it. I have to remind myself. I'm like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be worship. I'm so sorry. Like, just don't be too hard on yourself.
She's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's worship, guys. I'm like, but Christina, is it on the and count that we do this? Like, and sometimes she'll be like, I know Tracy's going to ask if this, or Christina, one time you were like, okay, I know I did it on a different word this time, but Tracy's going to point it out.
You're very observant and you like to like do it right, and I really respect that. I think that's like, it's funny to learn, like, I learned it with teaching. Like, I feel like God actually had to tell me, even with my high schoolers especially, like, you're not teaching 25 U's. Because it's so easy for me to think they're going to think like me. They're going to like the freedom of this and the like the strictness of this and the discipline of this. And like, I think you honestly do a good job of not like challenging me in a bad way, but reminding me like people like you actually want me to tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
For me, at my state in life, I'm like, someone can just kind of give me a gist and then I'll kind of boogie woogie and then like whatever. But you like really want to do it specifically, and like I literally love it. And so it's like, oh, this is growing me as a teacher because I'm having to know what number I want that on when I wasn't really counting, but now Tracy's in my class.
And unfortunately for Christina, when it's a smaller class or just like a chiller, like more friendly vibe, I'm much more like question asky. Like if I go to like a class and it's a packed class and it's a very advanced and I know it's not a question type of class, I will keep my questions to myself. But when it feels very comfortable, I'm like cutting people off mid-sentence. Can you show us this again? Like I try not to totally do that. But yeah. And I really like when people dance contemporary and it looks like really together. So sometimes I'm just like, oh, I want to know it, but I also want to make sure we all know like what word this is on or what, just because I think then when you're watching it, it's like so cool and
it can be so aesthetically
really
pleasing.
like
so I do agree.
Yeah, but no, it's always a good time. I always love your choreography.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you started this.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just been like amazing. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So that's the first Sunday
Thank
of
you.
the month, 4:30 to 6 in Sierra Madre. If anyone's interested,
Come dance with us.
find her on Instagram, which I'll put a little thing. But yeah, okay. But we want to hear about your dance journey.
Yeah.
So tell us like where you grew up and like how you got started in dance.
Yeah. Some of it's a little blurry because, you know, when you're little, how do you even remember? But I was born in Ohio. So started dancing there. There are literally pictures of me in ballet shoes when I'm like 2, but I didn't start classes, I think, until I was like maybe 5 or 6.
Okay.
So I danced there for a few years. And I really loved it and was starting to get really involved there. But when I was 8 is when I started coming out to LA. And that was for acting.
Okay.
And it started because my siblings were acting locally. So I have an older brother and an older sister. So they were starting to act locally. And then they were doing they did an expo in Dallas. And then they came out to LA to find representation.
Oh.
All the while I was too shy.
How much older are they than you?
My brother's 2 years older than me and my sister's 4.5 years older than me.
How did they even get started in acting? Is that like a really long story?
Not really.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
Okay.
My grandma loves articles. And so she just printed out some article, or not printed out, but like cut it out from the newspaper for my mom. And on the back side, it said like, local like actor girl comes to talk about her journey. And it was someone random, but my sister was like 12 or 13 and was like, I want to go hear a girl talk. Like she wanted to act. So she was like, I want to hear about this. And so she went and my brother went and I was just too shy because I was like 7.
Okay.
And then that's how they started acting.
Wow. So cool. Okay.
And then I remained too shy and I didn't want to do it until they'd done it for quite a bit. And then I was like, maybe like less than a year. They weren't in California that long. Let's put it that way. And then
they were just visiting. They were just going back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just visiting. And then I visited once with my dad, my mom, and my brother and sister here. And they were like, "Are you sure you don't want to act?" And I was like, I'd always said no.
I love that your parents, like, I feel like most kids are like, "Please let me act," and your parents are like, "Are you sure you don't want to act?"
Well, they were just like, if your siblings are doing it, like, are you sure? Like, we're here.
Yeah.
And so I was just visiting. And then I think at that point, like, my parents had kind of like totally let it go. But my siblings' representation was like, you know, younger is better for acting. And so they're like, are you sure you don't want to act? And I was like, no, I'll try it. And then I stayed. And my dad went home to Ohio again, and I didn't go back that time.
And your mom was out there with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then started acting when I was 8. And then we went back for my 4th grade year in Ohio. So when I was like 9 and 10, we were sending in tapes from Ohio, but then we officially moved when I was 10, and I've lived in California.
Because all of you guys were like booking work enough so that they were like, we're just going to move out there.
Yeah.
And your parents, did they have to was that hard for them? Did they have like jobs that but they were like, this is worth it because it's like working out for you guys?
Yeah, my parents were really sacrificial in that,
that's
if I'm
awesome, yeah.
honest, because my dad had like a job. They were like high school sweethearts in that town, and there was really no reason to leave. Like, I don't think anyone ever thought
Yeah.
they would leave. We just like, yeah, they just built a house, like all that stuff, and then they were like, we're just gonna leave it, I guess, because this is what our kids want to do. And they did always say if like all three of us hadn't been very adamant, they wouldn't have necessarily done that. 'Cause it's kind of a wild and crazy thing to do, but by the time we were moving, we were all very adamant. So
Wow, so crazy. Okay, so I have to tell my little story because this is so funny to me because I've now, like I said, I've been taking this class from Christina since like towards the end of last year in 2024. And I never knew, I was kind of excited to have you on the podcast because I didn't really know your whole story. I just kind of knew what your current life looked like a little bit. But every time before I'm about to have someone on the podcast, I always try to do like a deep dive on their Instagram. Sometimes I've already done one, but to be honest, I was surprised that I hadn't already done that on your Instagram. Like maybe I did, but maybe I didn't go down far enough or something. But so I knew she like kind of like had an internship at Vintage, and I knew that's like where you had gone and things like that. But I'm like looking down her Instagram just literally before this podcast, just today, like preparing. And I was just telling Christina this before we started shooting, but I'm looking through and then I see her in like looking like she's playing basketball, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, did she like play basketball in high school? That's kind of cool. Because I've been interviewing people and I've been surprised at some of the people that did like different sports in high school who are like really good dancers, because I always assume everyone just really focused on dance the whole time.
Yes.
So I just thought that was interesting. Oh, maybe she played basketball for a bit. I keep going, but I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like looking at the picture and I'm like, but this picture looks so like vibrant. It looked like there was just something about it. I was like, it's colorful. And then all of a sudden I was like, is this a show? Was she like on a show? Okay, I had no idea that Christina did acting. I don't know how I didn't know that. I feel like you just never talk about it in this class.
yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm sure you talk about it elsewhere, but it was what's so funny though is I recognized like the show that she was on called Big Shot. And what's so crazy, if you guys know me, I really don't watch much TV or movies even. I don't have a lot of time, and I'm also like very picky, and a lot of stuff I like is like stuff that used to be on a long time ago. Like there's not a lot of current stuff that I like. Granted, I haven't given a chance because I'm just busy, but very few shows have I gotten into. And Big Shot, I loved that show. So it's like with John Stamos, and it's like, which also, if you know me, the one show I go back to when I'm looking for something to relax to is like the original Full House, which also has John Stamos, right? And so I've been watching that, so that's also funny. But whenever that show came on, it was either right after or right when it came out, I stumbled upon it because, of course, like Disney Plus like knew what I would want to see or whatever, and like suggested it to me, and I started watching it, and I got so sucked in, and I really thought it was really well done. I was talking about it a lot. I was like, this is a good show. Aww. Like people should watch. I like sort of like family friendly type of shows, but but I'm very picky about it. It needs to be like written well with like good acting and have like a good like I'm very picky. If I'm not into it in the first like 20 minutes, I won't even keep going.
Oh wow.
So, but that sucked me in, and I liked like every episode.
Aww.
But now I'm so excited because I'm like, I didn't know Christina was in it, and she had a main like a regular part on it, and I'm like, now it's a great excuse for me to go back and watch it and be like,
anymore.
Wait, I can't find it anymore?
No, it got purged off of Disney Plus.
What? Wait, you mean you can't watch it anywhere?
No, well, people will DM us and be like, we were watching it, and we're like, how? So it's not like on Disney Plus anymore, though.
I'm upset. I mean, it's okay.
I've been the bearer of bad news.
It's okay, because recently I felt like I had to purge every streaming service I'm on because I'm in a financial situation, so it's okay for now, but I really hope by the time that that's no longer an issue, that it's somewhere. Because I literally just today got excited, like, oh, I'm going to rewatch this and be like, oh, there's Christina. Because, like, obviously it's been a while, so I don't, like, fully remember your part.
That makes sense.
But, I mean, that is amazing. And then what else is crazy is the other show, she's like, was it just 1 or 2 episodes?
Yeah, I just did a couple episodes.
But the other like main show that's like shows up on her IMDb, because of course I looked it up because I was like, oh, what else was she on? Was the TV show about a boy, which also, if you've known me a long time, especially those of you that knew me like a while back before like my California time, I love the movie About a Boy. I also loved the TV show About a Boy, which is weird because when they make movies into TV shows, I don't always like them.
Yeah,
but
it
it
can be pretty
actually,
hit or miss.
I thought it was really well done, and because it was like produced or written by Jason Katims, who I used to love, who did like Parenthood and Friday Night Lights, and those were also two shows I really liked. But I watched every episode of About a Boy. I'm sure I saw your episode.
That's
Do I
so
remember it right now?
sweet.
No. But wait, what was your part on that?
There was an episode called About a Girl, and
Oh.
I was just the girl.
You were the girl, like interest or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
for Marcus. I
Okay.
was literally like 12, so.
That is so cute,
Yes.
though.
And then, I just had like one other line in a different episode.
Am I
It was
able to
crazy.
find that episode somewhere?
Yes.
Where?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Okay.
But wherever About
We'll
a Boy
find
is.
it.
There's
We'll
about,
find
I was
it.
in About a Girl, and then I think the other one was about a slop master.
Slop Master?
Those are the two episodes.
Okay. Because did you get in
I
a
was, like, 12.
relationship with him? Was that why you were on 2 episodes?
No.
Okay.
They hired some other girl for that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I think there's like a picture of it on your IMDb and it was super cute. I was like, look at
I
her
was
little
little,
Christina. She's
little.
cute. Cause yeah, that's an old one, but I loved it. And so I just thought it was hilarious that I had no idea you did acting, and of like the handful of shows I like, she was on 2 of them.
I was going to say the handful of shows that I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's not
that's
that many,
like
yeah.
but that's crazy. So anyway, you moved out here to do acting. I just had to give that story because I thought it was so funny, and I'm so
great story,
excited
Laura.
about it now, even though she doesn't care about acting anymore. But and neither do I really, because I used to do acting, and I don't know, whatever. If God wants to offer me something, sure, but otherwise it's not really on my mind. But anyway, so you moved out here for that with your family, and you obviously did end up getting some kind of big things.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty scattered. So I did some stuff from like 8 to 13. I worked a good amount on the commercials or whatever else. But then 13 to 18, I actually didn't work at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I auditioned a lot, but I didn't work on anything. And I think that was honestly when I got to start putting even more time into dance, because I was homeschooled. So I didn't go to school and was auditioning. But when I wasn't auditioning and I wasn't working, it was just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so I'd never really stopped dancing around because I just was like, I loved dance. And so I would just dance around the house and dance around whatever, and took some lessons for a little bit, but then started just like taking regular classes multiple days a week when I was like 12, I think I started again. So I took a couple years off, but then started taking again at 12 and like fell in love with it, and then started assisting at like 12 or 13, and then teaching at 14.
Oh, wow.
And then
Was it all different styles, or what styles was it mostly?
then it was mostly starting with ballet.
Okay.
Was assisting, and then by the time I went to the studio I like mainly grew up at, I was 14 and I started teaching acrobatics actually.
Oh my
Which is
gosh,
really
so
random.
cool.
I do a good job of not putting handstands in your guys' routines.
You should put handstands because that's something I'm working on.
Really?
I mean, well, I'm taking like all of the contemporary classes I take right now are acrobatic contemporary. So yours is actually like the easiest.
I didn't know
even though
that.
it's not actually easy, but it like
No, but I didn't know that like
Yeah.
acrobatic contemporary
yeah.
like that
And I took
existed.
gymnastics for like a couple years. I stopped maybe like 5, like adult gymnastics, and I was taking privates with this girl, and we were working on handstands.
So I
I like to do them next to a wall. And if we do them in a dance, I'm not like going straight up and down. It's
Okay.
like, okay, I'm kicking my legs up as high as I feel comfortable and coming back down kind of thing. But
This is good to know.
so it's definitely a journey. I wouldn't say like I'm an amazing acrobatic contemporary dancer, but I had a girl on my podcast who loves that style, and she wanted me to try a class with her, and I was like, that's too advanced. But then I felt like God was like, why
Try
can't you just
it.
do it for the podcast? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it for the podcast. It'll be a funny story. I'll probably like die, but it'll be hilarious. We'll talk about it. And then I took this class and I just fell in love with it. So then I started taking that class all the time, and then another teacher's that's similar to that person, and then my friend who was on the podcast teaches her own class in that similar style, so I take her
Wow.
class. And then this other random girl saw some of my videos and was like, hey, I'm doing this little like session, do you want to come? And she has very advanced acrobatic contemporary.
Wow.
So I look like a beginner at it if you watch me do it, but I love it. and
I did not realize
growing at it.
that niche of a style really existed, if I'm honest.
Oh, it totally. I know. I
need
didn't
to
either,
like
actually.
do videos of you doing it like on your Instagram. I just need to stalk better.
Yeah, you're not like I feel like you're not on Instagram like a ton. Am I wrong?
That's
okay,
correct.
I feel like you're not. So I'm not surprised that you haven't seen things. But yeah, if you look on my Instagram, it's most of my more recent like things is that style.
Okay.
So yeah, you can find it pretty fast. But
Yeah, I believe that.
so yeah, whenever you put, and I've always liked floor work. It's always been a challenge, but anytime, even many years ago, even when I very first got into dance, I took a beginner hip hop, and it was my first class at Edge. Did you ever take class at Edge?
No.
Okay, it was my first class there, which felt like a big deal, and I took a beginner hip hop, and he had this whole little floor work section.
Dang.
It wasn't like anything crazy, but I remember being like, ooh, I love dancing on the floor. So when people are like, oh, floor work, I'm like, ooh, floor work. I've always been like that.
Wow.
Even if it's like something hard that I can't do, I'm still excited to try it, and I'm still excited to like work on it because I just like it. But
Yeah,
I never
you love
thought
a good challenge.
I do, and I never thought it would like get to this point where I'm like, yeah, I can take these classes where people are doing like flips and things. Like I'm not doing
Yeah, that's
total flips,
awesome.
but I'm trying weird stuff. But anyways, so yeah, love that style. Love when you throw something. But I also appreciate the lyrical and ballet-ness that I also would like to work on. So I like everything you put in.
I
into
feel
it.
like the ballet portions that I put in, it's like the most, for me, I was always like a turner and a leaper and a whatever. So to me, it's like all the fun parts of ballet that I get to put into a contemporary piece. It's not like the bar work, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I love the bar work though.
I do love the bar work, and it's so crucial. But I think for me, I'm like, it's so fun to just be able to actually do the stuff.
Right.
Which takes obviously all of the proper training at the bar. But I think because of that, I love to throw that in, and then contemporary lyrical, or the one time was more jazzy hip hop, which was a totally just switch up.
Yeah.
But
I love it. And also, I was telling her this tonight at class, but like, yeah, usually her ballet moves are like not anything super crazy. It's just like, but then if she puts a turn in it, it's not usually just like a normal turn. It's not like, oh, just a pirouette. It's like, tonight was like a ballet, like turned out pirouette, or however many you want it to be, and then a plie into a coupe turn.
Correct.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, I literally, she just says it like it's such a natural thing because it probably is for you. And I'm always stopping her like, okay, wait, what are we
But
doing?
you try it and then you crush it. She's so
I felt
capable
like I
of
did
literally
okay.
anything
Yeah,
she tries.
I did okay. I mean, I kept it all at singles, but that was enough for me because going from doing two different turns with just a plie in the middle and not like an actual stop, that is a challenge. But I like it because, again, it makes me realize I'm capable, that I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like, maybe it's not perfect tonight, but like, oh, this is in me somewhere. Like, I could do this. So a lot of times I discover things in your class. So, and you're just you're so sweet about it. Like, and now we're just going to do a quadruple turn, guys. not, okay. And then the next step is... I'm like, wait, hold up, let's rewind. What are we doing? What kind of turn are we doing?
You're so funny.
But you're so beautiful, and you're so beautiful to watch dance.
Thank
Also,
you.
I forgot to mention, but when Christina's like, okay, do you guys want me to show you? I'm like, yes, please. Partly because we need to learn it, but partly I just love watching you dance. So
Thank
it's
you.
always just, and then with the music, that's so beautiful, and it's to God, and I always love it. So anyway, that was a little tangent,
Thank
but
you.
basically. Okay, so you got more into dance during that time that you weren't booking acting jobs, and you were doing homeschool to be free for like auditions and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then you said you started teaching dance at 14.
Yes. And
That's
that was
crazy.
not like a full-time job by any
Yeah.
means, but it was like wherever was needed at the
Okay.
studio I worked at, which ended up being acro. I would sub ballet or like jazz or contemporary. And then as I got a bit older, I continued teaching acrobatics and contemporary and more regularly, and then would sub ballet. And then, just kind of continue to do that at various studios. Ballet or like hip hop or a lot of little kids. So like little kid hip hop's pretty hilarious. But yeah, hip hop and tumbling or kind of any style. I don't really tap. That's kind of where I draw my line.
Oh,
I can do
interesting.
beginner tap, maybe, if they're really little. Like I'm comfortable, but
Yeah.
it's just not my forte.
Yeah. I actually really like tap. I was taking it consistently for a bit, and I
Fun.
haven't in a long time. But I mean, kind of beginner, advanced beginner level. But yeah, I would love to get back into that at some point.
It's kind of a whole different muscle. Though.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, tap hurts the balls of my feet more than anything else.
Oh, wow.
More than ballet. Once my feet get used to it, it's like fine. But for some reason, because you know how in tap you're kind of always on the balls of your feet,
Yes.
versus like ballet, yeah, you're on releve, but then you're like back down.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tap,
Wow.
I leave a tap class and I'm like, dang, my feet. Just because you're like, if you
Wow.
really do it the right way, for me, it takes a while to build that muscle and
Again.
whatever. Because otherwise, I'm like, I just want to drop my heel. I'm like, I don't want to be on the balls of my feet the whole time. But I love watching tap. I do love doing tap. And I think it's so good to learn rhythm and counts and that kind of thing. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. I could just, there's so many styles I could do all day, every day if God wanted me to at some point. But, anyway, okay, so then what happened, because you booked the big shot job later, right?
Yeah. So when I was 18. And so
Okay.
I still continued to train before and through that, and I ended up being a part of a dance, like a ballet company.
Okay.
Not necessarily in the ballet portion, but in like musical theater and contemporary
cool.
pieces.
Okay.
And honestly, maybe like a contemporary ballet piece or two. But it was basically the studio I grew up in has a company. Most people don't grow up into it. People did come from like, it's at like the most dramatic way I could say it is people came from around the world. That would be really dramatic. But we did have people from all different places around the world that did come. And just had some really amazing dancers that I got to like watch closely and like learn from.
Cool.
So that was like really cool. And just
So you
be
did
a
that at
part
the
of.
same time as you were doing acting?
Yeah,
That
I
seems
did.
like a lot.
I only did like a couple pieces a show, so
Okay.
it didn't feel that crazy.
Okay.
And it would be either. I actually remember one of my last performances was like on a Saturday, and then the following Monday was like my first day for basketball training for Big Shot, and so it was like so sweet. Like even the like properly like perfectly timedness of that, like it didn't need to be that way.
all
So I was like,
worked together.
that's so sweet.
Wait, you had to like just train, you had training just for basketball?
Yes, we trained a lot for
Wow,
basketball.
That's cool.
It was a lot.
You're like, did you end up liking basketball?
Well, kind of. So I knew a lot about it because my family was like a basketball family, but then also I was just like best friends with the girls, and so we always just had so much fun like being together that we would just train and work hard, and it was fun. But it was a lot of work because we would train before the season started, and then while filming we would like it'd be like, oh, I'm filming today from my call time's 4 a.m. until 2 p.m. and then I have basketball practice after that or whatever it was. So
it's kind of funny because it's sort of like your life was actually looking like your character's life, because they would have done like school and then basketball practice. So you had like work and then basketball.
Literally.
That's crazy. That's so interesting. Did you, obviously, because I mean I did like the show, but it's been a while, did you ever get to do any dancing on that show? I know it wasn't about that, but I don't remember.
So funny. Two things just came to mind. One is we had a prom episode, and honestly I kind of forget the storyline, but I think some guy ended up asking me. It was kind of like a comedic bit, but I remember that like my name was Samantha, that I ended up doing this like hilarious dumb dance. So you would never think I was like technically trained. I remember it was like so stupid. And so anyway, I remember that moment. And then also there was one moment where we were like we were playing a different team recreationally, like at a park instead of at like our actual court.
Okay.
And like I got juked out and like I fell into a split, and they were like, just because you can do a split, like just fall into a split. And I was like, okay. And it was like a funny little moment.
Funny.
And it like was so just like looked past, because like in it I'm not laughing that I'm in a split. I'm just like, oh, we lost, like whatever. But like it was just a funny thing to
really
throw
funny.
in because they knew I could.
Yeah,
So they were like, sure.
That's so cute. I
was
love
sweet.
that. I can't believe that show didn't continue.
Yeah, no.
I'm like stuck on it. I'm like, they didn't do a third season. I also don't have anywhere to watch it. I'm like, ugh. But also, okay, did you enjoy like, because that was your first time like acting on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Did you like it, or did you feel like, and maybe because I'm sort of curious what led you away from acting.
Yeah.
Like, did you kind of feel like, oh, that was a cool experience, but maybe not for me?
Yeah. I really enjoyed it for the most part.
Okay.
It was very odd because we started filming right before COVID. So we were through COVID. And so it was just kind of a bizarre time to be the first time I was a series regular, because it was just like, this is so not normal. So like our first season took 4 calendar years to film.
Oh,
from
wow.
beginning to end.
Okay.
And then our second season took 3 months.
Wow. So
Or
that
maybe
was
4.
that felt like a big part of your life then.
So yeah, because I started the show when I was 18, and then I think I wrapped it when I was 22.
Oh.
22.
Yeah.
So it definitely was just like a good chunk of my life. I think I was 22, or maybe it aired when I was 22. Anyway, either it was like a very substantial part of like, it's the reason I wasn't planning on going to college, but it was all my college years. Like it just,
Yeah.
so just kind of bizarre. But I did enjoy it. I think it is like very much, I continued auditioning and stuff after that for a little bit, but I kind of was just like realizing where my personal parameters and morals were with like certain things, which wasn't what made me stop. I would have just continued with that. But it honestly wasn't until I was doing the internship and I was just like, realizing how amazing it felt to be a part of what God really was calling me to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I booked a dream role right now, I would not want to leave this internship.
Oh.
Like I literally know I'm supposed to be
So
here.
that's how you felt the first year, because you said the second year of the internship you kind of felt like.
Correct. But at that point, when I had that feeling where I was like, wait, even if I got my dream role, I wouldn't want to leave this internship. That's when I realized I was just being called to something other.
Okay.
And so that's when I stopped acting.
Okay.
I was just kind of like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Okay.
If God ever called me back into it, I'm not like closed, locked
yeah,
door.
yeah.
But I have a lot of peace about it. And I'm really grateful for like the sweet memories and friends and all of that. And I got to do it for 15 years.
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
You know, it was really sweet. And then... yeah, so then after that, the second year, I was still going into the second year. I was like, I'm still definitely too soon to ever reevaluate acting. I feel a lot of peace not doing that. So what does that look like? And that's why teaching dance came back up. Yes,
that's interesting. Because I was pursuing acting for a while. I did not book anything consistent, but
it took me like 10 years to do so. It's not...
and you started very young.
Yeah.
I moved to LA when I was 26, and I started pursuing acting in San Francisco like a year before that, and I was booking everything I auditioned for up there, but it was mostly student films, short films. But I was booking every single thing I auditioned for, and actually some of them were like really good quality, and I was substitute teaching, which was a great schedule for that, and I did that on purpose, and then I planned to come to LA, do substitute teaching, and do the same thing. And I thought, as long as I'm just doing stuff for free, like, it should be the same as it is up here. And then eventually I'll hopefully start getting paid for stuff. Well, then I came down here and was like, oh, it's a whole different ballgame. I'm thinking it's California. How much different is it in LA than up here? But it's very different because, you would go to an audition where nobody's going to get paid. It's a student film, and you're auditioning against 100 people for this role that's not paid.
Wow.
That I was like, this is not what I expected. And also, it was 2009 when I moved, and which I guess was the same year that you moved, which is so crazy. Our ages are different, but that's so crazy. So, a bunch of teachers got laid off that year, so I couldn't, they weren't allowing just random substitute teachers. They were only taking laid off teachers as substitute teachers.
Oh.
So I had this whole plan to keep doing what I had already been doing, and I got here and was like, because I came in the summer, I was doing extras work because I had learned how to do that, and then was like, and once the school year starts, I'll do substitute teaching, and then there was no open door for that, which I actually wasn't that mad about because I was kind of didn't love that after the end of the first year.
What age did you teach?
I started doing K through 12, like everything, but I will say after a couple months, I was like not doing elementary anymore or younger because as a substitute, maybe as a regular teacher, I mean, I'm sure it's hard as a regular teacher, but as a substitute to have to go into a school and like only have 10 minutes to look at notes that are for the whole entire day and every different subject, and have these kids and the little ones really like structure. So it's very hard when you're not doing things. And it's just very hard to classroom manage when you don't know their names and they're so little and they're talking. The older kids, junior high and high school, was so much better because you would just get like one or two like subjects and you can reteach them all day or whatever. So it's like, oh, okay, the first period was my practice and now I can like get better the whole day.
Yeah.
And you have little breaks when they're changing periods and the older ones, the issues you're dealing with are like they're falling asleep in class or they're on their phone or they have an attitude. I can deal with that. I can't deal with just like all this talking and like jumping up and down. And like the little kids were getting in fights. I did all kinds of schools.
Wow.
I did like schools, rougher schools, snobbier schools. To be honest, I actually preferred the rougher schools with the kids that were like problem kids for some reason. I connected with them more, which I wouldn't have. There was a school I taught at up in San Jose somewhere. I don't remember what school it was, but people were like, oh my gosh, Tracy, you're going to teach at that school. Like there had been like a lot of crime there and all this stuff. And I don't know, I went because I got some different jobs there. And I just remember these really tough, like older looking kids, you know, I don't know what they've been through. And I'm this tiny, like people don't even know, especially back then, like they don't know how old I am. I look young and I'm tiny. And I remember they'd see me in the hall, these big guys, and they'd be like, hey, what's up, Miss Edwards? Like, I just remember they really liked me. And I really liked working at that school.
Wow.
And it was just funny, like how God just like, he just blew my mind, the areas that like I wouldn't have thought I would have excelled at, but I had a harder time at like the kind of richer schools. Like they were fine, it was fine. I had some good moments, but I was just surprised by that. Anyway, total tangent, but I was gonna say the reason I stopped acting, it was kind of taking over my life, not necessarily because I was booking all these jobs, but I was, you know, booking things here and there, and then I was taking a lot of acting class, and we were working on these long scripts, and I'd be in my room memorizing lines and scripts like all the time, doing scene studies, and like I just wasn't with people as much because I was in my room memorizing all the time. And I felt like I was so obsessed with acting that I was like kind of journaling with God, which is something I regularly do. And I kind of felt this impression of like maybe acting is becoming too high in my life, like an idol, and maybe I'm worshiping acting instead of God. And I wasn't sure if I was, but I thought maybe I am. Something feels wrong about it. So I actually prayed and was like, I think I'm just going to give up acting for a year as an experiment.
Wow.
Just to like make sure God is like first in my life. And then after a year, pray about it again and maybe go back. And I thought I would just get a regular job because I was doing all these odd jobs to have flexibility because I couldn't do teaching, but I was in LA. But I was doing cleaning houses, babysitting, and just any kind of job that was flexible. And it was crazy. After like 2 months of not doing acting, I felt like a huge weight was lifted off of me, and I was not expecting that. I thought I was making this big sacrifice for the Lord to give up acting, and I actually think what he was trying to show me was that I didn't want to do it anymore. But I actually didn't know that. I thought I was laying down something that I loved, but I think God wasn't actually trying to get me to lay something down that I loved. I think he was trying to show me that I didn't love it, but it had become my identity for so many years. I think I just didn't know like how to not do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so I felt relieved. I felt like I had my life back.
Wow.
I enjoyed life. I was doing church ministry stuff. I was doing all my odd jobs. I was looking for a regular job. And then God brought me a regular job. It took a while, but it was like a year. And then all of a sudden I had a set schedule and I could go to dance more. Because I was going to dance here and there, but I wasn't making much money, so I couldn't go much. And I also had such a scattered schedule.
That makes sense.
I could go, but I couldn't go regularly to regular. And I was like, oh, now I can like go regularly to some classes. And then that turned into me taking more and more classes and getting super into dance while I had my corporate job. And then, you know, led to lots of other things. Anyways, it's not about me. But that's why I stopped acting.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of in a similar place where it's like, I mean, I'm still in SAG. Like, if God wants me to do something at some point, what I would really love is the book I wrote to get turned into a movie.
Ooh!
I think it would be so fun. And I don't know, maybe then I could I have a cameo in it.
That's cool.
So I don't know. I'm not like against acting, but I'm not like I'm not pursuing anymore. Anyways, okay. So then back to you. I already forgot why you said you stopped.
Well, I really just stopped because I didn't want to leave the internship I was doing.
Oh, right. The internship.
And like it
Okay.
didn't have to make that decision, but I kind of was just realizing I had a team that was working really hard for me, and I was like, I just wouldn't want to do anything right now.
Right.
It's not fair
So you
to
don't
have
want
them
them.
keep working hard.
Exactly.
If I'm kind of unsure. And I think it was probably like a year process for me to like go from the original thought of maybe not wanting to do it to actually pulling the plug. And I think it also just me being reminded, like, I just honestly felt like the Lord met me in it and was like, I would still love you if you don't do this thing. And I think when you've done something for 15 years and given up so much of your life for it, you think that took me an adjustment period.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And at the same time, I think since I was 8, you would know this, but like having that feeling of like I could get a call at any moment that I'm like supposed to move to Vancouver for the next like
Okay.
I think that was just like like I'm just like can be a bit of an anxious person at times, and I think that like always never knowing what the next day held, or like that unknown, and I wouldn't say that my job, my like life right now is like 100% stable, but it is a bit more routine, and like I sign up for jobs that are for the next 10 months or year indefinitely, not just moment to moment. So I think that is, for how I'm wired, has just been really nice.
Yeah. I also appreciated when I finally got my corporate job. Like, I loved having a regular schedule. I loved not having to go to set and not know if I'm going to be there for like 16 hours. Like, it's also because I was doing a lot of extras work and like random type of stuff. Yeah, it was so nice to be like, wow, I'm here from 8:30 to 5. And actually the job was so busy, and I was just emailing, and I love writing and emailing. So it went by fast. It was like I blinked and it was over, and I'm like, wow, I like this. And I was like, wow, and I'm getting to know people because I see the same people every day. I hadn't had that really before. And so that was really nice. And I loved that job for like 5 years. I never looked back at. I was like, this is great. And then I loved being able to take dance after work and stuff. It wasn't until the last few years when it was really because the job had changed. I think if it hadn't changed, I would have still liked it because I liked what it was originally. But my job changed. The company had a lot of merges and changes, and it just, for my personality, was getting worse. It wasn't necessarily getting worse in general. It was just for how I'm wired. It like was no longer for me. It was like really hard. Like how you're like, oh, I have some anxiety. So like not knowing my next job was hard for me, and just the things that were happening there were causing a lot of stress, all the changes all the time, and like so much more being put on my shoulders, and also not knowing things because of all these transitions. And it was very hard. So ended up leaving that, and so, and now I'm kind of in a place where I don't think I would mind going back to like project to project if God had that, because now I'm kind of like missing that a little bit.
Ooh.
I don't know. So not necessarily for acting, but just like, I don't know. So right now I am doing sort of random jobs here and there, and just whatever God's calling me to. But, so now, I mean, we're kind of, I guess we're caught up to where you're at, because you kind of talked about what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So we are going to wrap it up because we're at an hour now. But Christina, what, kind of the last question, do you have like kind of a dream goal or job with dance, or do you sort of feel like you're kind of already doing it and whatever else comes up, you'll see? Or do you have like kind of a vision of like what would be really cool is like, I know this class is like part of your vision, but like,
gosh, I really don't know. I think I'm also like, side note, but like I'm just like taking some classes online at Biola for like biblical and theological studies.
Oh, cool.
And I think that just feels really in line with what I'm supposed to do right now. And so I think just like taking it day by day and being like, is that working towards something, or is that just because I'm very passionate about this thing and learning deeper? So I think between that and then like dance, and then the fact that my dance stuff, a lot of it has fallen in the Christian space, I just feel really blessed by that. And like, it's been so much fun. It's very in tune with like my heart. Like, I definitely think that can just look so many different ways, and I just didn't know what God would call me to. But I think, getting to see, I honestly just think I'm a person with a lot of passions. And so even some of the roles that I have, like, I really do feel like just like raising kids is something I'm very passionate about. And so getting to work with little kids and high schoolers and whatever, and nanny, like, I love being a part of raising children. So I think that has been really sweet. And then dance wise, I think like, I do think I have a little bit of a vision. I've gotten to see this come to fruition a bit through the way, and then I actually took the way to the Christian high school I work at, like the structure of the class.
Oh, nice.
And I got to set it on the class, and that was so sweet. And then some of them actually ended up getting to, I got to complete the number, and they performed it.
Cool.
And I think like something about the performance of like a worship-filled number, I'm really what, before the class of the way came to be, like that was kind of my heart, is I was like, if there's ever a time where like there's, I don't know if it would be like a charity event or like what it would be, that there would be a place and a space for like worship dance to be performed in addition to like worship music being happening or something. I love when dance makes people feel something, and I love when the Lord through worship is so kind and helps us just shift. I don't even know, makes me feel something. And so I think getting to mix, like, I literally just pictured like some place where like people are there and like they know the Lord, but maybe they just feel a little bit stale, or like something's just not clicking, or do they just feel off or something, and then they get to see a piece that's just performed in such a way that truly is worship, and the ways that just getting to worship is kind of just so meaningful, that I'm like, oh, if I could just make people feel that, but not in a way of like, that dance was so good, but like truly, like I literally felt the Lord somehow through that, would be the goal. I think God has been so kind in like giving me tiny classes with a few people here and a few people there to like really try to work that out, because I don't think it's a small thing, and I think it makes sense that I'm having, you know, almost a year now under my belt of like trying to understand what that may even look like.
Yeah.
But I can't decide even how much is up to the choreography versus the dancers versus the whatever. But I think even when I get to watch you guys do it and I don't do it, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I have chills. Like, I love this so much. Like, I just get to like really enjoy the piece. And I sometimes just feel the Lord more in that than even me doing the dancing. So I'm just kind of like learning with that.
That's amazing. Definitely today, like there was just a few of us tonight, so we were like kind of dancing in different pairs, like at the end with videos. And at one point, when the other girl, Lisa, was dancing with Christina and they were improvising at the end, and then Christina just at one point just stops dancing and just goes on the floor, lays on the floor, and just head in her hands, just watching Lisa finish improving to the whole rest of the song. And it was so cute. I just videoed it because but I could see the joy of like how much you love watching people dance to this kind of music and stuff. But equally, I see the joy when you're dancing. So it's really cool that God's like giving you both of those gifts, you know, to love to watch that and see it, and also to do it yourself. And it's so cool to hear your whole story and I learned a lot about you today.
I learned a lot about you. This was fun.
That's true. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Was there anything else you like wanted to share?
I don't think so. I feel very like I feel like I've gotten to relive my story in a way that I've kind of forgotten about in some ways. So this was good for me to even remember.
Cool. And yeah, it seems like it'll be so cool to see how God leads you, because you're kind of just like, you have a good thing going, but seems like you're kind of also just open, seeing what God's going to do. So I love that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for taking time to get to know Christina Wampler, and this has been so fun for me. And and I hope you guys will just like and subscribe and do all those things, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. You should do that stuff.